Hey gorgeous, welcome to Happy Go Fabulous. I am so thrilled that you're here. This is our space where we get real about life, the good, the messy and all the juicy bits in between. Real talk, real life and a whole lot of delicious living. But I must warn you, listening may cause unexpected outbreaks of fabulousness and real life magic. Hi, I'm Catherine and I am so incredibly passionate about helping inspired, motivated, impact-driven, freedom-seeking people just like you to do the deep inner work to create those beautiful outer wonders in life. It's all about revolutionising your relationship with yourself, where you fall madly, deeply in love with who you are and create a life so fabulous you can't wait to jump out of bed every morning to live it. Ready? Because ordinary living is so last season. Life's waiting and it's time to make it fabulous. Let's shimmy on in. Welcome to this week's episode of Happy Go Fabulous podcast, and I am so excited for this one. I've got my gorgeous friend Suzi Joseph and we're going to have a chat today. It's not really an interview, it's a chat, so a different style of podcast than I normally do. And I've known Suze for, it feels like lifetimes. It actually absolutely feels like lifetimes. We met at some training, some coaching training that we did. And I don't even know, I think it was maybe about 15 years ago. I can't really recall. But we're in Sydney and we just clicked. We just struck up the most beautiful friendship. And it's that soul sister friendship that we struck up. And Suzi is one of the most magnetic, vibrant, energetic, positive women that I know. And I just love being in her energy. She's like this little pocket rocket. She's gorgeous. And if you're watching on YouTube, like you'll get to see Suze and her gorgeous, gorgeous energy, and listening, you will feel that anyway. And my whole energy changes when I'm around Suze. And we have deep, deep, deep conversations about everything. Nothing's off limits. And I don't know about listeners, if you've got a girlfriend like that. If you haven't, you need to go and find one. Susie's taken. Sorry, she's mine. But but one of those girlfriends that nothing is off limits and we talk about stuff and we just get each other. And I love it. So Suze and I are going to have a chat with you today about vulnerability, about being vulnerable. So I'm going to, I'll welcome Suze on in a second. Hi, Suze. How are you? I'm going to go into that lead on. How are you, gorgeous?
I'm really, really good. And thank you for having me here today and sharing that beautiful introduction. Your friendship means the world to me. Like, to me, you're my mentor.
Oh,
I love your energy. I love how you make me feel. You always pick me up whenever I call. It's like we cannot talk for a month or so, but we always come back and it's like we've just chatted 2 hours ago. So our friendship has been, it's like you said, we've known each other for a lifetime, many, many lifetimes. I think we always come back in a new form meeting each other. So yes, I love your friendship too.
And everyone listening, this certainly is a love fest, but it's more than a love fest today. But it's that unconditional friendship. And I think what you said there, Suze, is there'll be months where we don't speak. And then there'll be times when, remember every morning that we would have those chats when I was back in Canberra. But it's that unconditional friendship, which my hope is that all the women listening have that girlfriend in their lives as well. Yeah. This came about, Suze and I were chatting, it was a couple of months ago, actually, and Suze was invited. Actually, tell us where you live, Suzie, before I get into that. Just remind our listeners. So Susie's been on one of my very early podcasts, one of the very first guests on season 1 of my podcast. So you can go back and listen to that episode. So it's with Suzi Joseph. And where are you coming to from today? Where do you live?
Coffs Harbour, New South Wales.
Yeah, so you're on the coast, northern New South Wales, for our international.
Northern New South Wales. If if you're not familiar with Australia, it's very close. You would have heard of the Gold Coast is one of the destinations to visit, Byron Bay. So we're just a couple of hours south of Queensland.
Yeah.
We're on that New South Wales Queensland
Yeah,
border.
beautiful, beautiful part of the world. And
Yes, on the beach.
yeah, when I met you, you were living in the snowfields. You were in
Yes,
the
we were
southern
in
part of New South
Jindabyne.
Wales.
Absolutely beautiful. So many photos now I see of the snowy mountains. Wow, my heart
Yeah,
bursts because it really is magnificent there.
yeah.
Yeah.
And tell me that accent, where's your birthplace?
Oh, yeah. Originally, I was born in Canada. I never lost my accent. I
Mm,
was always proud to be a Canadian. I've lived in Australia now for 36
yeah.
years.
Wow.
So I'm almost more Australian than Canadian. But I love my Canadian culture. Where I grew up, way northern Saskatchewan. It was an interesting part of the country.
Yeah.
Fabulous. To some people can't even imagine where I lived. I was fortunate to grow up around three native Cherokee
Wow.
Indians and the Dakota Indians. So that was, a beautiful part of my heritage, and I'm still proud to be Canadian. So I've never lost my accent. So many people do
Yeah.
that come, they travel, they'll, settle in another country, and they do. But I've always kept my
Oh,
accent.
I
I love
love
it.
that. I love that.
Yeah,
Actually, while we're talking
yeah.
about that, I was at a funeral the other day. My girlfriend from school, her mum passed away, and my girlfriend did one of the eulogies. And she's lived overseas. She's living in England at the moment, and she's lived overseas more, I think, longer than she's lived in Australia. But her Australian accent was so broad, like it was so strong. It was,
Yeah.
yeah, she hadn't lost her accent either.
No, it's a beautiful
Yeah, I think
thing,
it's lovely. I
you know.
think that's your roots, isn't
Yeah,
it?
where you were
Yeah,
born.
that's
Yeah.
your roots. We're going to dive more
Yeah.
into your story as we go through this chat. Tell us, what stage of life are you in? So you said that you've been lived in Australia almost more than half, so 36 years. What stage of life? Where? Yeah,
Well, in another month, I turn 67 years young.
yay.
And I'm so excited about that. A lot of people get excited about their 40s, their 50s, their 60s. I never really tapped into
Mm,
that. I never thought, oh, I'm going to make this big change. I'm
mm,
turning 60. But me turning this year, I've made a lot of different decisions in my
yeah,
life. Not for any reason per se of the age, but it's how I'm feeling in my own life.
wow.
And I feel better right now than I felt 30 years ago.
Yeah,
You know, they say wisdom comes with age. Well, I suppose it does, but I don't know. I feel better, even though my health, of course, you can see things going down, but I feel better
yeah,
mentally, physically, energetically, spiritually. Everything about me has changed in such a positive direction that I'm going to start living now for me and my love for life,
yeah,
my love for life,
yeah,
my love for people. I love meeting new people. And so I want to reach out to so many different people,
yeah,
not just stay in that one little group. You know how you can go into a group, especially when you get
yeah.
older. You can go into a group and fall into those patterns, and that's your life.
Yeah.
But I like exploring.
You know what I love what you
So
said
that,
there, Suze? I love that you said you've made some different decisions in life, and it's
yeah,
not necessarily age based, although age, for me, age does, it's just a measure of time. It doesn't
of
really,
course.
it's not, I don't equate it to how I feel about myself, but I'm going to be 60 in next year in 2026, and I'm excited about that too. It's about who do I want to be in this phase of life, and how do I want to show up, and be really intentional with my life. And that's
Mhm.
where I'm sort of, and I've always been like that. I've always been very intentional, but it
Yeah.
is a different energy in this next phase. Like it's for me, it's not that, you know, hustle and grind and being responsible to everybody else. It's about now I get to choose and make those decisions with some more
Right.
freedom. So I know that that's not what
Yeah.
we're going to talk about, but I think that's a really cool message for all the women.
Well, age
Yeah.
is a big thing in what we're going to talk about today, turning,
Yeah.
your number, because, it plays, especially in women's
Yeah.
lives. It makes you begin to think about who you are, and I need to love myself.
Yes.
I really need to think about me and love myself so I can get out there and express this in the world and love other people
Yeah.
and enjoy other
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you know what it is? Even though I said it's not really what we're here to talk about, but we're talking about being vulnerable. And
Yeah.
this kind of topic came up when you were, a couple of months ago, you presented at a regional women's event and you told your story, I guess, for one of the first times in a public space. And you said, "Oh my God, I felt so vulnerable." And I'm like, "Oh my," and we started talking about it. That was one of our deep dive conversations. And I remember you asking me or saying, "Catherine, you come across like I'm vulnerable. Like, how do you do it? And how do you feel about it?" And we thought, oh, if we're feeling like that, then a lot of other women probably are as well. So we thought that this would be a nice topic to just have a conversation. It's not me interviewing Suze about anything. It's about the two of us talking about what it feels like to be vulnerable. And I'm just even reflecting now when I said, what stage of life are you in? And often stage of life is associated with age, but that's about being vulnerable to say, I'm 67, I'm turning 67, or I'm
Yeah.
60. And sometimes it's like, oh, should I disclose that or not?
Yeah.
Which I
Well,
don't
I
really,
mean,
which I really have never worried about at all.
no,
But I'm just
but
thinking some other,
many people do.
yeah, a lot of
Many
people do, and they are very almost ashamed or not feeling good
Yeah.
or something. But let me wind it back. What does being vulnerable? What does that mean? What is vulnerable?
Well, I think vulnerable to me, when I really thought about it, especially coming from this talk, was always about, like, I was fearful. To me, vulnerability is fear.
Yeah,
You're scared
yeah,
to be who you
yeah,
truly are, your true authentic self.
yeah,
You're afraid of judgment.
yes,
You're afraid of criticism. You're afraid of being misunderstood. But to me, when I spoke at this talk, I really felt vulnerability to me meant speaking my truth.
yeah,
You see, I was never true. I was never true to myself. So how could I be true and vulnerable and open to my friends or to the public? I teach yoga, and I teach around everything, but I never really spoke about myself in how I got to this point and why I believe so freely in what I do.
mm,
And then one day I spoke about, and you gave me this idea of who am I? You helped me through that. Who am I?
mm,
And that gave me an opening to, in one of my yoga classes, to talk about who am I. And this lady heard me talk, and she asked me if I'd come to this. It's a women's
yeah,
event, and she began it in Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, Brisbane, and all the major cities. And she wanted to travel to some of the coastal towns, and Coffs Harbour was one of them. And they asked if I'd be a guest speaker and talk about connection.
mm,
And I thought, oh my God, that's a big topic for me. Connection. What does it mean to me? Because every time I got too close to someone, or I felt I was being a bit vulnerable and they were getting to know me too good or too close, or I would run. I'd move to another town. I spent my life running away.
wow,
So this was good for me. And so getting up and talking about my story opened up a can of worms for me. I felt so vulnerable, like I was lost. I was talking in front of 85 women and everyone just looking at me. And I'm used to talking to
Yeah.
people. I lead large yoga classes, but this was like being naked on a beach. I really felt vulnerable, and I thought of you a lot because you know you go on to podcasts. You opened up to the world
Mm,
about your life
mm,
and how you coped
mm,
at 12 years old
mm,
losing your mom. Now that's vulnerable.
mm.
And I wondered how can how can she do this? How can she openly talk about that? Because it helps people.
Yeah.
It really does. And people like you and I, or anybody speaking about how their truth and their
Yeah.
fears and how they're being judged, that's vulnerable, and that helps so many people in this world.
Uh,
It really does.
yeah, it's
So it was
yeah,
good for me to do that.
yeah.
Mhm.
It sure does. Like about that fear, for
Yeah.
me, I looked up vulnerability, the meaning, definition, and one of the definitions is the quality or state of being exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed,
Mhm.
either physically or emotionally. So, what you've talked about, that fear of judgment, the fear of
Yep.
exposing things, and people, we might say some stuff that might upset people, or our voice might shake when we're saying it because we're speaking our truth. And it's about, for me, being vulnerable is laying bare, like you said, feeling naked. It's
Yeah.
exposing stuff,
Yeah.
and it's putting myself in a position where I can be judged. And
Yeah.
that's hard because I I don't like that. And
No.
it feels uncomfortable. And I have this kind of love hate relationship with being vulnerable. I know that that's what my makeup is. And I am here to share experiences and how I navigate those experiences to help other people to maybe understand their experiences and navigate their own experiences. And I can't do that if I'm not vulnerable. I can't, this is
Right.
not textbook. This is my lived experience. And I feel, for me, where I reconcile the love hate element of it is, this is bigger than me to share my story. This is, if somebody can take some little pearl of something out of it and it can help them in some way, that eases the
Yeah.
discomfort that I maybe feel, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, let's be honest, vulnerability starts at a very young
Yeah.
age. Anybody listening here, whether you're 15 and it begins there, how did you grow up? Were you told to be
Mm,
quiet and not tell your
mm,
story? Were you told to don't tell
yeah.
anybody? What's going on in our home, domestic violence, alcoholism. That's how I grew
I
up.
wasn't.
I was told never to reveal
Mm,
that. So my story was always zip it
yeah.
up, don't tell, don't tell. But then, when it comes, and my thing of being vulnerable too was standing on that stage but telling my story because there's always someone who has a story that is worse than
Yes.
mine. And I felt bad because I'm thinking, here's my story and listen to
Yeah.
theirs. But we all have a
Yes.
story. And it's important to know that no matter who you are, whatever story is hurting you, it's important.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
important because it's important to you. And I think we don't feel important enough
Yeah.
to tell our story,
Oh my
you
gosh,
know?
I had that experience. It might have been a few months ago, actually, that there was somebody who shared something with me that was really they'd been through a lot of hardship. And I was going through my version of, you know, hardship. And I'm just going, oh, but mine isn't as bad as theirs. And it was almost like this little, oh, it wasn't a meltdown, but it was this feeling of it's mine isn't important to share. And I was suppressing it. And then I just went, no, 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 no. That's not about comparing. We've all got our own stuff, and it's not
Yeah.
diminishing our stuff. It's about going, this is the good, the bad, and all the bits in between. This is mine, and honoring that for me. Yeah.
Yeah, well, comparison is the fire of vulnerability. You know, once you
Yes.
start comparing your story to somebody else, it ruins you and it makes you crawl
Yeah.
deeper into that
Yeah.
shell, into that dark place
Yeah.
that we don't want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so when you were saying about your sharing your story on the stage in front of all those women, and you were going, and this is one of the first times that you've shared it in such a vulnerable way, and
Mm.
you were talking about abuse and alcoholism, have and you were told that you got to keep that quiet, like it's a secret. Was there shame that came with that, Suze, for you? Or do you associate with shame
Well,
or not?
you know, shame is identified as a very large word for me. Um, I guess I felt shame because I couldn't help my parents.
Yes.
I was that child that wanted to, I knew if I made people happy, I could get to where I wanted to go.
Okay.
But I couldn't make my parents happy. I seemed to always disappoint them in some way, you know, but it probably wasn't me. It was probably how they were feeling
Yeah.
themselves. So anything I did really didn't make them happy. But I wanted to save my
Yeah,
parents.
interesting.
My father passed away at 52 years old, so I was still quite young. Of you know, he died of alcoholism,
Yeah.
and there's no doubt about it. Everything happened because of alcoholism, but their domestic violence was brutal. It damaged. I still see the damage within myself. However, I do all these
Yeah.
self-help things to help myself.
Yeah.
My brother is stuck in that place where he is so vulnerable. He doesn't know how to speak out at all, you
Yeah.
know, and I see that. And that's why vulnerability is such a big topic for me because I see it in so many people now
Yeah.
that since I've opened my eyes about
Mm.
this, you know, and growing up in that, all you want to do is run,
Yeah.
So that's why I kept running. I kept running and running and running and running. If I didn't like where I was at in this stage of my life, I'd pack up my bags and I'd move. I didn't just move to the other side of the city or, I moved to another province
Mm.
in Saskatchewan, in Canada. So for me, it was running. And once I came to Australia, I felt that I created this new life for myself, but it wasn't, I was not telling my truth.
Yeah.
I was being whoever I wanted to be to get to where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
That's, so I never knew anything better except that. And if I made people laugh and be happy, I was doing okay until I got into that same place that I was when I packed up and ran. And then it was here, where I had to connect not only with my community, with where I lived, with what I did, but connect to myself.
Yes.
I had to become truthful to me and really start speaking my truth. I'm a people pleaser,
Yeah.
and that's part of vulnerability.
Yeah.
You want to please people,
Yeah.
to be accepted, but I never accepted myself. So how could I be accepted by other people? Even though I was always the happy person around. People loved me at a party, but I because I wasn't truthful to
Yeah.
myself. I wasn't living who I truly am. And I think that's why I love this age that I'm at right now because I am. I'm really true to myself,
That's beautiful.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a lot of work. It doesn't just
You
happen.
know,
You got to work.
I think we'll go back and unpack that a little bit. But what I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you is when you're sharing your story on the stage in front of all the women, how did you feel being that vulnerable in front of them? Like, how did that?
Um, well, at one stage when I was talking about, my parents and the life that they had, it, my voice
Yeah.
cracked and, tears welled into my eyes. And I felt their warmth.
Yeah. Nice.
I really
Yeah.
felt their
Nice.
warmth. And that's what made me keep going.
Yeah.
So, I didn't break down, I didn't cry, I didn't, and I kept on going. And I had to turn a little bit of that vulnerability, that fear of being judged, because I thought so many people are, when people are listening, you're talking in front of 85 people and they're all eyes are on you. You're trying to read expressions, but still tell your story.
Business.
And yeah, you get, and I'm thinking, are they going to judge
Yeah.
me? Are what are they thinking of me? Am I letting them down? Am
Mm.
I letting the sponsors down who asked me to speak here? Am I disappointing
Yeah.
them by my story? Am I going in the right direction? Um, I was. Am I going to fail at this? Is this going to just slap me in the face? So all these things kept going through my mind while I was telling my
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel quite confident,
Yeah.
but I just kept going because I knew I had to step outside of this box and
Wow.
I wanted to touch
Yeah.
people. I really did. And I wanted everyone to know that their story is
Yeah.
important. Whether it's better than my story or worse
Yeah.
than my story, their story is
It,
important because it's
it's their
what's
story.
hurting them.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
their
it's
story.
really
Yeah.
it.
I remember it took me a lot of years to talk about my mum passing away. And when I first
I
started
can.
to, I don't think there's a time, on maybe there's a few, where I don't get emotional, but I still get emotional. Like that's the depth of, part of me goes, oh God, Catherine, are you really going to cry again? I don't think there's been a podcast episode that I haven't cried on.
Yeah.
But it took me, I remember I was at a business event in Canberra and they asked me to present similar to what you did and share my story. And I'm just going, fuck, what do I even share? Like, what am I? And this is going back, I can't even remember. It's a lot of years ago. And I'm like, how personal do I get? Do I keep it just the superficial stuff? Because my growing up it wasn't a secret, but it was like, just get on with life. Don't show that you're
Yeah.
sad, but you can't be happy. It was just get on and just get on with life sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it was almost there was some unwritten messages that I took about, it's not okay to be happy, but it's also don't be weak. You got to be strong. Like strong, you'll get through it. Be strong. Now, I don't know if anybody ever said that to me, but that's certainly what the 12-year-old version of me took away. So when I'm about being vulnerable and I'm crying, there's a part of me going, oh my God, Catherine, don't be so weak. And that's less and less and less. But so when I was asked to present at this business event, I'm like, I can't even talk about my mum. Like I'll just skip over that bit, even though that's you know, that a really defining part of my life. It's just like I'll just skip
Yeah.
over it. And it was just this very superficial talk. And then there were some other things that, I would share a bit more about, my journey, sort of like my origin story. And it wasn't till I started running the Happiness Hive events, and that was maybe about 8 years ago, maybe 8 or 9 years ago. And I did exactly what you've done, Suze. It was just like, this is me. this is why I do what I do, because I'm here about helping other women to navigate life's ups and downs. And it's really important to be able to share my story. So I remember at that very first event, there was probably about 30 or 40 women in the room, and I knew maybe a third of them. And then there was women that I hadn't met before. And I was as vulnerable as I think I have ever been.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I can feel it now. I just spoke from the core of my deepest part of my heart, and the reason why I had created the happiness hive. And I shared about my mum and the journey that
Yeah.
I had navigated, and, and all the beautiful things that had come out of that as well. And there was a woman that just came up to me, and she just touched my arm and she said, "You would not believe," and I didn't know this woman. She said, "You would not believe how powerful your story is." And I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, really?" And she said, "Because I lost my mum when I was young. And
Yeah.
she said, I've never really dealt with that." And she said, "You sharing your story, I connected with you that I'm not the only one going through it." And
That's right.
somebody's got something that I could relate to, and we've become these good friends now. And I didn't even know her, and she just saw the ad for the Happiness Hive, and she said, "I don't even know what this is about, but I'm going to come along." And she was meant to be there. So part of
Yeah.
me, when I get all this, this teary stuff happening, is it is so my encouragement is for anyone who's listening who feels that they've got nothing to say, or it's not okay to be vulnerable, or it's not okay to have tears or whatever. Just
Yeah.
fucking do it, because you don't know how your
Right.
story impacts other people and
Oh, well,
helps
that's
other
right.
people. Yeah,
That,
yeah,
yes, so true.
so true.
And the thing is too, so many people just don't know how to understand those
No,
feelings of losing a loved one at a very young age. A lot of people in my situation, they don't know what it's like to live in a culture, in a family where there's domestic
yeah,
violence and you hear the brutal beatings at night. You hear the arguing and the drinking and the alcohol. So many people live through that, but they don't know how to deal
yes,
with it.
yeah,
And domestic violence and loss of a loved one is the biggest things now in depression in this
mm,
world.
yeah,
And also when you're hiding these emotions that you're holding inside because you're not feeling good enough to let them out, you don't feel
yeah,
confident
yeah,
enough to let these emotions
yeah,
out, is when alcoholism, drug addiction, and all of this begins.
yeah, yeah.
That's the start of the roller coaster ride
Yeah, because you're
for
kind of
a lot of.
either, masking, or wanting to feel
Yes,
better, or
that's
you
right.
feel so shit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I found the other day? I was working with an executive leader yesterday, it was, in fact, and we were having a conversation around imposter syndrome. And it was
Oh,
about
yeah.
how do you deal, and it was imposter syndrome, people pleasing, and it really, but for me, it was this piece around vulnerability as well, because she felt she was new in an area. She was leading a team, quite a big team, that it's a new area for her. And she feels like, I'm not the expert. I don't have all the answers. And I feel a bit stupid asking. Like, I feel like I should have it all together. And I'm just going, oh my God, like I have felt like that so many times in life, that I used to, because that gets back to that, be capable, be strong. You should, don't
Yeah.
ask for help, and just get on and kind of work it out yourself. But I noticed something in my life, that instead of holding back and not asking or trying to prove myself that I know something, I just ask the questions now. I just got so much more comfortable with just going, "Do you know what? I don't understand that. Can you tell me more about it?" And
Yeah,
it's because one of those things of feeling stupid is certainly one of my patterns as well. I don't want to feel stupid, but I feel much more comfortable now in asking the question because 9 times out of 10, other people are thinking the same thing, but they're not game enough to ask it.
that's
Yeah.
right. I'm put my hand up for that one.
Yeah.
I'm always too scared
Yeah.
to ask because I always thought my questions were stupid.
Yeah.
You know, they're not.
Yeah. But most
Yeah.
people, other people, and I've really shifted. I was explaining to the client yesterday, I have shifted from,
Mm,
I have this inside voice that goes, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck at me? You should know this. Or what the fuck is
yeah.
somebody else talking about? This really judgmental, like, what the
Yeah.
fuck?
Yeah.
To shifting to be really curious, to go, oh, that's really interesting. I feel like I don't understand something. Why do I feel uncomfortable to ask about that?
Mm,
And it's really softened my thinking, and it's really helped
yeah.
me when other people, when I'm being judgmental about other people, instead of going, what the fuck, I kind of go, oh, that's really interesting. I wonder why they're doing what they're doing. And that helps me to ask questions because it's coming from a place of genuine curiosity, not judgmental, whatever.
That's right. And you know, it goes like even in workplaces, you
Mm.
know, like I mean, now as we get older, here goes to that getting older thing. Where do we belong in work?
Yeah,
You know, you try and get a job, or, you know, even myself,
yeah,
like my age teaching yoga, I feel really, you know, like, who am I? I'm too old to be teaching yoga. Who would want to come to my class?
yeah,
You know, and there, so I start teaching away, and I'm thinking, oh, are these people going to like it? You know, it's just being so
yeah,
so vulnerable doing
yeah,
that. So it comes in so many different forms in your life. This fear of not being good
yes,
enough,
yeah.
you know, and
I
that is a that's a big one.
Yeah, that's a really big one. I think this vulnerable is that fear of putting ourselves out there, even on
Sure.
even this conversation. You know, I sort of think we had a pre-chat about this, going, oh my god, this I think this will be a good conversation because others will be interested. And then part of me goes, oh, will they? I'm not sure whether they will. But then I get feedback after my podcasts, and people go, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it's like you were
Oh,
talking exactly to me. And there'll be some random thing that I'll say or my guest says that is just the thing that that person needs to hear. So I trust that that
right.
is okay. But when I'm on social media, I also have this love hate relationship about, oh, I'm putting a photo of me up. Like I put one up the other day, Suze. I'm doing a little bit of a rebrand at the moment. And I'm just sort of thinking about how do I want to show up in this phase of life, but business as well. And I was updating some of my social media handles and pictures, and I put a picture up on my private Facebook page. And it was me. I love the photo of me because it represents so much. I think I did a podcast on this last year, but it's me in my cozies with my boogie board. And I'm on
Oh,
the beach
I
and
would
I've got my
have
hair, and it represents freedom and self acceptance. And
yeah,
when I put the photo up, I didn't realize that everybody would see that I've changed it. I didn't realize that it would come up as a public, Catherine's changed her profile picture or something. But I'm getting all these messages saying, oh my God, you look amazing. Like you just look hot and you look like the new lifestyle at the coast just suits you so well. And I felt really exposed because I thought I was kind of doing it in this private little
yeah,
space, which is a weird thing for social
right,
media. But then I'm getting all these
yeah,
comments, and I'm just like, oh, I felt exposed. I felt
yeah,
really
yeah,
vulnerable in shifting and even in doing some of the rebranding and just showing up on social media. It's kind of like, oh, will I, won't I? Do I want to put a picture of me up there? Is everybody going to be, looking and being judging me, and the messages that I'm putting there? And then I've gone, you know what? I'm here to share my message. And if I can be of service and get out of my head and thinking about, oh, somebody's going to look at the bags under my eyes, and it's about being of service, has really helped me to shift and show up in a
Yeah,
way that feels good for me.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about getting all your Instagram and your Facebook and your emails, because it lets me think, wow, she's just so brave. And she's just, so like, that tells me that deep down inside, you do really care about yourself. You care
I
about
do.
yourself.
Yeah, I do. I
You,
do.
you do have
I do.
that confidence in
Yeah.
you. And it took you a
Yeah, yeah.
while to get that
Yeah, yeah.
confidence to be able to do
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
This is a really big step, what you
Yeah.
do with, you know, your website
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all the posts and
Yeah.
Instagram that you do. I mean, it's so different. You're helping the world.
Oh,
You're by your messages. You're helping us start to believe in ourselves.
oh.
But when then there's that, but then a lot of young people with this, with Instagram and all of that, they take it to a different
Yeah.
level. I mean, we don't need to know when you get a bikini
No,
waxed,
you
like,
do not need to know
you know,
that.
but that, so is that vulnerability there?
Yeah,
You have to
yeah,
define
yeah.
this. Yeah. So
I reckon that's an
there's,
age thing. I think that's an age thing. I don't know. I don't know if it is just an
absolutely,
age thing. I think
yeah.
for me,
But
it's
but a lot of young
authenticity.
people,
Yeah, it's about
yeah,
being authentic and showing up in a
absolutely.
way that feels comfortable for me and
That's right.
in the moment and the realness. Like, I don't share all the shiny bits. Like, there's bits where you'll see me going, this is fucking hard. Like, what I'm going through is
Yeah.
really hard. And I share that. I don't share, there's bits I won't share. There's bits that are very private that are not, they're not shareable stuff. But I share a lot about the ups, the downs, the roundabouts,
And you have to. That's what being a coach,
yeah.
that's what being an empowering coach means to people. You're the people we want to go and see.
Oh,
We want help from people like you,
thank you. Thank you.
So that's why I take my hat off to you. You're going, hey, this is me.
Yeah.
This is me at almost 60. I'm not Elle Macpherson. I'm not
No.
blah, blah, blah. I'm me. I'm
Yeah.
Catherine Bowyer,
Yeah.
and this is who I am.
Yeah.
And this is what I want to help you do and achieve.
Yeah.
And that's vulnerability to me.
Yeah.
That's stepping outside of the box and start to trust and believe in your story to help other people.
Yeah.
So our stories are important to
Yeah.
help other people,
Yeah.
whether they're big or they're little. That's doesn't that's not for anyone to judge.
Yeah. And I think when you said about being brave, I think it does take courage to be vulnerable. I think it
Oh,
absolutely. I was even thinking about
enormous.
different, I've held a lot of different positions of leadership, some of them formal workplace ones, but also community leadership and family leadership. And that takes courage as well. Like, you're kind of in this position, you're making decisions that not everybody loves, you're having some difficult conversations, you're inspiring people, you're motivating people, you're disciplining people. You're often the spokesperson for your organization. And I remember this was probably the time that I started the Happiness Hive. I had chronic nasal
Sinusitis, yeah,
sinusitis, yeah.
something like
And I went to see my homeopath, and she said, Catherine, your nose is in your solar plexus region as your chakra when it shows up on the face. And the solar plexus is about your identity, and it's
that.
about your power, it's about your
Right.
confidence. And she said, you've got a big nose. I'm like, excuse me? And she said, no, no, but you are here to stand out.
In a good
Yeah, yeah,
way.
yeah. She said, you are here to stand out. And the reason that it's dripping is that you're not comfortable in your own identity. And she said, own that. She said, you always end up in a position of leadership or power, whether you search for it or not. She said, that's what you are here to do. So she said, be comfortable with that. People are going to judge you. People
Mhm.
will judge you. Get used to it. That you can either
Yeah.
step back and fear it, or you can step into it and do what you're here to do. And I remember that, it was a homeopathic, but it was kind of like this coaching session going, I am actually going to own my power and my identity. And it's about recognizing not everybody is going to like me. Not everybody is going to, love me sharing my story. Not everybody is going to, but that's okay. They're not my people. That if I fear judgment, that stops me from like stepping through and being brave enough to share. And that to me, that's what being vulnerable is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Like you're going to get
Yeah.
criticism no matter
Yeah.
what you do. You
Yeah.
want to step into the public
Yeah.
eye, you are going
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
criticism. And that's part of being vulnerable, accepting
Yes.
that criticism. I remember the yoga studio that I am working at. They were Channel 10 came into town and they were doing a show on
Oh,
wellness, and they chose shallow wellness to be part of it, and they wanted a yoga class to be taught. So the girls asked, the owners of the studio asked me if I would teach the yoga class, and I went, sure, I'll do anything to be on TV.
wow.
And then I went, oh my God, have I just realized what I did? Like, who am I to be teaching yoga on Channel 10? And who am I going to be teaching? Are they going to like me? I'm not qualified enough,
Yeah.
because I know so many really qualified yoga teachers. But when I did it, I felt really good about
Yes.
doing it. I talked to
Yes.
the cast and everybody before. And so then I won't mention names, but was watching it with me. And they went, and so I'm going, look at me, that's me. And they go, is that it? Like it wasn't a whole half an hour. I mean, it wasn't Friends or something on TV, but it was, part of a wellness
Yeah.
series. And so the shallow was in there. I was teaching the class, so I got a nice little hit. And I felt, oh, I shouldn't have done that.
Oh,
As soon as they said that to me, is that it? Is that all you got?
yeah.
I went, oh, I shouldn't have done that. See, I made a fool of myself now. And so I never told anyone to watch it.
Oh no.
But
Isn't
yeah,
that crappy? Like even just sharing these stories is about being vulnerable. But isn't that crappy
yeah,
that we still have those old stories that are playing? I I'm
yeah,
just thinking, Suze, I've just come back from Qigong today
yeah,
and she got us to do some different stuff. We had to be in a circle. Normally she's at the front of the class and we're all lined up, behind each other facing her. And I feel
yeah,
really vulnerable. I'm pretty new to Qigong and I'm probably the youngest there by about 10 years. But I've been promoted to the front row because the others are newer and they're going, oh, no, no, we don't want to be out the front where people can see us. And it's like, neither do I, but it's like, all right, I'll just do it. So people are behind and they're not really judging me. I kind of gone, yeah, whatever. But today we had to do it in a circle where we're facing each other, and there's probably ten
oh,
of us
yeah,
in the group, and we're facing
yeah,
each other, and I just got the giggles, and it was like I don't know, the 6-year-old me was there going, oh, this is an opportunity to be silly and play up, and I'm going, oh my god, Catherine, that is not okay for the 59-year-old version of you to be giggling in class. But anyway, I did, and I set off it was like this chain reaction of setting off these older women and men in the class. But I felt like, oh my God, I'm being so naughty here. And that old pattern of me kind of going, oh no, she wants to come out and have some fun. So I know what you
well, that's a big vulnerable episode right there, bringing out the childlike in you,
yeah.
that inner child,
Yes.
because,
Yeah.
we're scared to do that.
Yeah.
I, I love bringing out that inner child in me.
That's what I did feel.
It's,
I feel like I was going to get into trouble or I was going to upset them or I was going to disrespect the Qigong
yeah,
master who takes it very seriously. But um, we were giggling. And then one of the women, she said, oh my God, that's probably one of the best classes, even though we all felt very vulnerable having to watch each other. She said that was
yes,
just so much fun. So
that,
it was good
yeah.
to let that.
You took the stress out of the air.
I,
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing.
I
Yeah.
felt very naughty,
That's
though. I felt very
yeah.
naughty to do that. But
And you were
that also is,
naughty. Nice.
yeah, it's allowing ourselves, isn't it, to experience
Absolutely.
all the bits. Let's think, Susie, in wrapping up, what are some practical things that our listeners, like there's lots that we've kind of spread through this, what are some
Yeah.
practical things that they could do about either being more vulnerable or dealing with the emotions that come when we're vulnerable?
Well, I think the first thing is you have to, that this inner child is a big one. You have to step outside of the box,
Yeah,
and I don't like saying you should or
yeah,
you
yeah,
have to, but challenge yourself. Challenge yourself to step outside of that box just a little bit all the time. I remember when I first moved to Jindabyne. I came from Canada and moved to Jindabyne. Don't know how I ended up there. But I opened up a fitness center
yeah.
and I thought, I need everybody to get to know me. And I stood on the balcony on, July 1st, which is Canada Day, and I sang "Oh Canada" at the top of my lungs. And I was so scared, but I thought, I've got to get people to know who I am.
Wow.
I want them to come to my gym because I opened the fitness center. I want them to know it's fun here.
Wow.
I want them to know that this is where you can come to release and have a good time. So I expressed that having fun.
Yeah.
Whenever you're fearful and you're scared to speak your truth or you're scared to step outside and do something different, wear something different, say something different, go to an event that's completely out of your
Yeah.
league, you know, have fun,
Yeah.
put on a smile
Yeah.
and really enjoy where you are at this moment in life
Yeah.
because and you're going to be judged
Yeah.
no matter where
Yeah.
you go or what you do. You're going to
Yeah.
be judged.
Yeah.
But take it as a learning
Yeah.
experience because we learn through all of those things. Don't take it
Yeah.
critically. Try to see the positive thing out of that bit of judgment and always strive to make yourself better and more outgoing.
Yeah. I love that. And I think
Yeah.
it's also about, I think we will be judged, but sometimes not,
Yeah.
not in the way we think we're being judged. Like, I
That's
think
right.
sometimes we're
That's
going, oh, people think
right.
I'm, I don't know, whatever.
But that's why we're afraid
Yeah.
all the time
Yeah.
and we're vulnerable,
Yeah.
is because we're afraid of that
Yeah.
judgment. Whether it's good, and if it's good, we feel good then,
Yeah. Yeah.
But if there's a negative piece of judgment there, then we want to crawl into a hole. But you got to take the good with the bad
Yeah.
in everything you do. It's a phase of life,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, if I didn't like it, I used to run, but now I go, hey, okay, well, maybe I did step a little out of line there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You either go back and apologize or you set the bar straight.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think often,
Yeah.
what I find more often than not, and I'm sure there are people, there'll be haters that always hate and judge and stuff like that. I don't tend to get too caught up in that in my more mature years. I used to a lot, but
Me
now
too.
it's kind of thinking, how can I help people? How can I be of service? What am I here to serve and help with? And it is about, and I don't do it to inspire others, but often I inspire others. Like I went in and dropped Boston off at the at daycare yesterday when I was in at the groomers, and she just went. The woman at she said, "Oh my God, I've got to tell you something." I'm like, "Oh," my initial thought was, "What did we do wrong? What did Boston do?" And she said, "Last time you were here, you wore this outfit that I loved. She had a scarf," and I went, "Oh, I've got one at home like that." And she said, "I went home and I tried it on and I love it." She said, "You inspired me." And she said, "What you're wearing today?" She said, "I've got something like that." And I'm like, "Really? Like I've just driven 2.5 hours from Canberra and I'm feeling like, what?"
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh my God." So I don't, I dress for how I want to dress, but don't underestimate in just by being us the positive flow on effect it has with others.
On
Yeah,
others.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. Like we all have a
yeah,
gift. We all have a
yeah,
gift. Let it
yeah.
shine. Let it bring it out there.
Do you know what I
You
even
know?
yesterday? Actually, I must have been in a good, must have looked all right yesterday, because when I'm coaching in Canberra, I'm coaching in. There's a central area that I'm often walking through, and there was this young woman who was sitting near me, and when I'd finished coaching, she saw that I was packing up, and she said, "I'm really sorry to interrupt you, but," she said, "I've been watching you today." And she said, "What you're wearing is just stunning." She said, she said, "I feel really nervous telling you this." She said, "But I love what you're wearing." And she said, "You just like your makeup and your hair." And I said, "Thank you so much." I said, "I really, really appreciate you making the effort to share that with me, because that's made me feel really, really good." And she said, "Oh, because I was nervous about whether I should say something or not." And I'm just like, "Oh my God, yes, do it." And she was being really vulnerable in that space. Like, I loved it. I'm
Yeah.
just going, "Oh my God, you can always say that." But that was a vulnerability for her, approaching somebody in a space. She didn't know me. And like, thought that was a beautiful thing, but you could see that she was nervous, and it was just like, "Oh, I wanted to wait, and now that you've finished, I just wanted to come up and say that I've been
Yeah.
watching you." I'm going, "Oh,"
Well,
part of me is going, "Oh,
that's
really?"
yeah. Well, that's a beautiful way to end this
Yes.
podcast too. Because that was nice of her. Whenever you do have
Yes.
something nice to say, say it. Say it to someone because it makes them feel good. It
Yeah.
makes you feel good.
Yeah.
And that's part of, that stepping out there
Yeah.
and being happy and showing the world
Yeah.
your good side.
Yeah.
What a lovely lady she was
Yeah.
to come up with that.
Yeah. And it's
You
about,
know,
for me, I guess, just wrapping up, is be you. Like, just
you're
continue to
true
just be
authentic.
really, really authentic, but
Yeah.
also be brave enough to make those decisions that maybe you feel a bit nervous about, and know that it will be okay. It will absolutely be okay. So, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Suze, when we talked about this has been a long podcast. We were sort of saying, "Oh, this is a big topic." I think we've even contained it. So there's a lot that we could talk about.
Yeah.
If we've
Absolutely.
got Suze's details that you can connect with Suze if you want to do that as well. We'll have her details in the show notes. Always, if you want to connect with me, love, love, love it. And if you are having some thoughts around, who am I and how do I want to show up? That's the juicy bit that I love helping people with. So please connect through socials, through, my email and stuff. I'd love to have a chat. So thanks, Suze. Love you.
Oh, thank you. Love you all too. Mwah. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Happy Go Fabulous. I hope you loved it. If you did, could I ask a big favour? Please subscribe, leave a review, and most importantly, share the love and let your besties know about the podcast. This will help get it into the hearts and ears of all the gorgeous souls who need a little bit of fabulous in their life. If you'd like some more high vibe happiness in your life, come and visit me on my Happiness Hive socials, and make sure you've signed up to my newsletter, your weekly drop of juicy goodness. Pop over to my Happiness Hive website and click on the link Working with Catherine. I'd love to help you make life amazing. Until next time, keep being fabulous.